talk more about the tariffs that Annie was just discussing on the lumber industry. I'm joined by Ian Dunn, President and CEO of Ontario Forest Industries Association. Good morning. Glad you could be with us today, Ian. So I'm sure you heard from Annie, that meeting on the West Coast today. Obviously, these softwood lumber duties at 45% are punishing. Talk to us about the impact it's having.
Yeah, thanks, Marcia. So it's important to realize that this is not a new trade dispute for the lumber industry. This has been going on in its current iteration for the last 10 years. It stretches back to 2015 when the last agreement ended, and there's been impacts since that time. We've seen mills reduce shifts, we've seen layoffs, we've seen curtailments. Just last week, a very important mill in Ear Falls, Ontario, northwestern Ontario, announced that they were indefinitely curtailing their operations. That's 150 jobs in a community of 1,000 people. That's huge impacts to communities. In a lot of respects, we're still waiting to see what the full impact of a combined 45% duty and tariff means to the lumber industry here in Canada. What I can say is it's already had impacts. We anticipate to see more of these types of announcements. And it's ultimately the communities, the northern, rural, and Indigenous communities across Canada and Ontario that are going to be the most impacted.
Have there already been layoffs?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I mentioned just this week there was 150 layoffs. Going back 20 years, we've seen a shrinking of the Canadian forest product industry in general, not just lumber, but in pulp and paper. In Ontario, for example, since 2005. In 2005, there were 16 pulp and paper mills in Ontario. There are currently 3 operating, which serves as an important market for the lumber producers, for the solid wood producers who take a circular log and turn that into a square piece of lumber. That residual product needs to go somewhere, and that has historically been the pulp and paper sector. As a result, we've seen essentially a halving of the workforce across Canada over the last 20 years.
My goodness. What commitments has the government provided so far to the industry, and what more do you think the government should or could be doing for you?
So on August the 5th, Prime Minister Carney announced a $1.2 billion stabilization package, which included loan guarantees for the Canadian lumber industry, market diversification funds. Those were quite promising. Those are things that the industry had asked for. There's a commitment to roll that out, but it hasn't been implemented yet. As far as we know, our member companies are going to the banks trying to access those programs, and so far the banks have not been able to. So we're working very closely with Minister LeBlanc and others and BDC to make sure that those programs are fully implemented and accessible to the sector. But we can have as many programs as we need. But ultimately, there needs to be a resolution, a settlement of this dispute. We need to see the lumber sector, the forest product industry, on equal footing with some of these other very, very important industries across Canada: auto, steel, aluminum, and energy. 2 weeks ago, we saw Prime Minister Carney, Minister LeBlanc in Washington. We heard that there was some progress on these other industries. We haven't heard anything about lumber, and that is incredibly concerning to our industry.
Do you feel left out?
A little bit, Marcia. Yeah, we need to be at the table, just like your previous guest said. And if we're not talking about a settlement, if we're not talking about a resolution, then it's not going to happen. So we need to be at the table. We have some excellent people in cabinet, around the cabinet table. Let's make it happen.
Ian Dunn is the President and CEO of Ontario Forest Industries Association. Thanks again, Ian. We'll stay in touch as we continue to follow developments on this story.